it may be a bit premature to say that Donkey Kong Bananza is one of my favorite Nintendo games of all time, or just one of my favorite games ever, but dang did Nintendo cook with this one. So Donkey Kong Bananza released just about a week ago, and I finally went about finishing the game and rolling the credits of the game, so I wanted to kind of get my first impressions on the game coming out of the game, because I could have done this a little early on, where I just played a little bit of the game and then get my first impressions on it, but I really wanted to just see this game all the way through and kind of get my thoughts on everything about this game. You know, whether like the gameplay, how it looks, the controls, stuff like that. I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit. This isn't like a full review of the game. This is more so like a first impressions or first review, if you want to call it that, of Donkey Kong Bonanza. But before we get into all that, I think it's important to talk about the context in which this game came out, because this is the first Donkey Kong game since Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze on the Wii U. Sure, I don't have the Wii U game here. I have the Switch version. But this is the first Donkey Kong game since Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, or sorry, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze in 2014. So this is the first Donkey Kong game in over 11 years. And honestly, that is insane. I was expecting us to get a new Donkey Kong game sometime during the Switch's life cycle, but apparently we didn't. This game was actually supposed to originally be for the Switch, but because I think of how ambitious it ended up being, they didn't want to hold it back because of the Switch's limitations, so they saved this for the Switch too. And honestly, I think that they did great by doing this. It's also pretty funny too, because this game was rumored for the longest time to be developed by the 3D Mario team, as there were rumors, I think as early as 2021 or 2022, that a new Donkey Kong game is being developed by the 3D Mario team. And those rumors ended up being right. Donkey Kong Bonanza really does feel like what Mario Odyssey would have been for the Donkey Kong series. Anyways, let's talk about the game. So one of the biggest talking points about the game going into it was the new DK design. A lot of people weren't a huge fan of the new DK design. It was inspired by the Mario movie and just the original arcade games, but it actually turns out that this was the inspiration for Donkey Kong's look in the Mario movie, because this game started development, and then this is how they wanted Donkey Kong to look going forward. Wanted to move away from the rare design and whatnot, and you know, make him a bit more expressive, make him a little bit more cartoony, which I really like. And because this game was in development at the time, this was the precursor of what we would see in the Mario movie and a later Mario Kart world. I really like how Donkey Kong looks in this game. It took a little bit of time for me to get used to his new look. I will say that much. It was kind of like Mario Kart World, where it was really weird at first, but low-key, going back to rare Donkey Kong here, which, I mean, he doesn't look bad, but just going from what we have in Bonanza and looking at it and comparing it to what is rare Donkey Kong, if you want to call it that, or Retro Studio Donkey Kong, I don't know what you want to call it, but I definitely do prefer the new design. The rare design isn't bad, but I definitely like how expressive and how just awesome Donkey Kong looks in this game. He just looks phenomenal. I don't know how to really explain it. He's really expressive. He's really animated. And I just like that, because it really adds more depth to his character. I mean, he's just Donkey Kong. There's not much depth besides, ooh, banana. But like, you know, it's just nice to see Donkey Kong get a redesign that just improves his character a lot more. Now, I'm going to briefly talk on the story about this game. I'm not going to go into any spoilers or anything. This is going to be spoiler free, so if you're worried about spoilers, you don't have to worry about it. But the game basically follows Donkey Kong and Pauline making their way from the top layer to the planet core in order to reach the surface and to make their dreams come true. But the main reason they're doing this is because they're trying to stop what is the villains of this game, the Void Code. Basically, these guys are just a bunch of evil other monkeys that are led by Void Kong, who want to get the, I think it was the Vanadium root is what it's called, and he wants to just become rich. I think that's what it was. And while on the surface, this story doesn't seem anything deep. I mean, it is just a Donkey Kong game. You're not going to get like Xenoblade levels of story in this game, especially since it is a platformer. But I really do like, especially Pauline's character arc in this game. She starts off pretty nervous and just, you know, not confident in herself and her singing abilities, which, you know, obviously we know Pauline for her singing nowadays because of Mario Odyssey. But her, like, going from the beginning of the game being really shy and just not being confident in her singing to by the end of the game, when the credits roll, being like just ready to sing and ready to just put on a show. It was just nice to see it. And I mean, Donkey Kong, low-key, he kind of just remains the same throughout the game. He's just, you know, he just wants his bananas, and he wants infinite bananas, which is why he wants to go to the planet core. But you know what? That's what you expect from Donkey Kong. Like I said, the story's not super deep, but there are some, like, character arcs, I guess you could say, especially, like, Pauline's here, where I really like them. They're small, but they really add a lot of charm to these characters in the game. As for the gameplay of this game, I really like how this game controls. Like, low-key, I really liked how Super Mario Odyssey controlled. I think that this is one of the best controlling Mario games, if not the best controlling Mario game of all time. And the same can be said about Donkey Kong Bananza. This game just feels so good. You're able to break basically anything in any level. It's super satisfying. Like, when I started playing this game, I was just like, wow, this is satisfying. Because, like, the day before I was playing the game, it was not a great day for me. I'll just put it at that. It was not a great day for me. So me going into that Friday, because I didn't play this on launch day because of just stuff going on in life. But when I got into the game on Friday, I was just like, I was just satisfied. Like, it was so satisfying learning Donkey Kong's moveset, just learning how he controls in like that first Ingot Isle, I think that's what it was called, the first world, first area. Just learning how he controls and all his like abilities and stuff, and then going in and like just breaking absolutely everything. It's just super satisfying, and I really like that about this game. On top of that, I do like the Bananza powers. I'm not a master at all of them. There's a couple things that I struggle with some of them, I will say that. But for the most part, they're really great. They really help improve the gameplay and just help increase the amount of stuff you're able to do. And what I really like about this game is the fact that it's not linear at all. There's so many different ways you're able to go about doing things in the game, whether it's puzzles or just fighting bosses and stuff, and I'll get into bosses in a little bit. But there's just so many ways you're able to do stuff in this game, where it's like, it feels just infinite. Like, I feel like if I play this game again, I'm going to be playing it a completely different way than how I did the first time. Now, I am going to talk about the bosses briefly. I'm not going to mention any specific bosses just to stay away from spoilers and stuff, but I will say that for the most part, outside of the final boss, which I am not going to reveal because that's completely spoilers, but outside of the final boss, I found the bosses in this game to be pretty easy, which isn't a bad thing because, I mean, it's a 3D platformer. You don't want super challenging bosses, but it just lacked a little bit of difficulty, which kind of sucked. Because there's like moments where like I was able to beat a boss in a matter of like just a minute even. It was so crazy just because like there's just some times where if you understand the patterns, which, you should be rewarded for understanding patterns and stuff. I definitely like that this game took a more approach where the more, I guess, skilled you are at the game, the faster you can beat bosses. Whereas if you take it more easy, then obviously the bosses last longer. But I just do feel like that there are some points where bosses feel a little too easy. I don't know if that's just me. It could just be me. Let me know down in the comments what you think, though. Also, while you're at it, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Anyways, I don't want to lose you there, but they're creative. I'll give them that. There's like one where you're like on a rail system and you have to like shoot these like bombs at the boss, and then that's how you defeat it instead of it just facing it head on. It almost kind of reminded me of a Metroid boss, or like that first boss from Metroid Prime where you have to like go around it and like find an opening, shoot at it. It kind of reminded me of that first boss from Metroid Prime, which is pretty cool. I don't know if that's just me or if I'm just going crazy or not, but the bosses are creative in this game. I will give them that. They're unique. They're all different from one another, so it never feels repetitive when you're fighting a boss, but they are just a little bit easy. Anyways, I might as well talk about the presentation of the game. Like I said, Donkey Kong is really expressive in this game, and I really like just how this game looks. It really does feel like if Mario Odyssey was a Donkey Kong game, and I mean, obviously it was developed by the same team that made Mario Odyssey, which you could definitely see that just going into the game, or even just with the trailers alone, you could see that this game was developed by the Mario Odyssey team, or the 3D Mario team, and they've really cooked with this one. Like, this game looks great. Like, a lot of people might say that this game doesn't look super great because it's more like lively and colorful, kind of like the Luncheon Kingdom in Mario Odyssey, where it doesn't go for a realistic look for the most part, where instead it's kind of like more animated, I guess you could say. I don't know. Like, obviously environments look semi-realistic at points where like they just look really good, but they're not going for that realism. Instead, they're going for that more like Mario cartoony look, and I really like that because, like, I will say I prefer games that have a more artistic art style rather than that realistic art style. I'm really sick of seeing that in the gaming industry, and I'm happy that Nintendo didn't go about that with this game. Like I said, the animations are great as well. Characters are super expressive. There's some points where the voice acting for Pauline might have been a little bit iffy, but it wasn't too bad. She wasn't super annoying in the game. I did hate, though, that every time you would approach a banana, she'd be like, look, it's a banana! It's like, yes, I see that, Pauline, thank you. I'm sure there's a menu to change that something, but, it didn't bother me too much. It was just kind of just there. But yeah, I think that the game looks great. It plays great. Just everything about it is great. I will say that. I'm going to try to wrap my thoughts up here because I think I covered a lot of what I wanted to talk about. Sure, there's the music as well. Let's talk about the music real quick. The music is phenomenal. I love the the tracks of like, just the overworld tracks of everything. They're like really immersive. They're very lively. They really like fit the theme of their respective worlds. And also the Bonanza transformation track. They're pretty good as well. I will say though that sometimes they are a little bit repetitive, but like that's also because you're just listening to the same song on loop while you're in those forms. It's not too bad though. I also like that there's some songs that call back to the original like Donkey Kong Country games or Donkey Kong 64. I really like that they didn't just forget about that era of Donkey Kong and just, reboot the series. They actually just took a lot from the past of the series and incorporated it into this game with some like references to past games and stuff in there. I thought that was pretty cool as well. But the music is great. I will say that much. This game has a great soundtrack. While I do prefer Mario Kart Worlds because, that just embodies the entire Mario series and Mario Kart series in general, Donkey Kong Bananza also has a great soundtrack. So just because it's not as good as, say, Mario Kart Worlds, don't disrespect this game's soundtrack. It still slaps a lot. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna wrap up. Like I said before, this game is phenomenal. Like, honestly, if I'm choosing between Donkey Kong Bananza and Mario Kart World as my favorite Switch 2 game so far, I think that Donkey Kong Bananza just slightly overtakes Mario Kart World. There's some good bit of flaws about Mario Kart World. I love the game, but there are flaws with this one. But like with this game, the only things I have against it are just tiny little nitpicks. I don't really have anything bad to say about this game. This really is the Mario Odyssey for the Donkey Kong series, and I really appreciate it for that. I do feel like that this game isn't going to be super replayable though. Like, I'm sure if you speedrun and stuff, it will be replayable. But just as a casual person like myself, I don't see myself regularly going back to this game. It feels like Mario Odyssey in that sense where you'll experience the game, you'll enjoy it, but like you don't want to like play it too much or else it won't have that same impact. So I definitely feel I will return to this game sometime like in the next year or something, and it'll be even better than the last time. But I don't see myself going back to this like every month of the Switch 2's life. I think that this is going to be like one of those games where it's like, it was really good and it'll get better with every replay, but you don't want to play it too much or else it will just lose a little bit of that charm. But yeah, I think that of the Switch 2 games that Nintendo has developed for the console so far, Donkey Kong Bonanza is definitely my favorite one. I think that this game is a solid, really great game. And honestly, I think that this is a Game of the Year contender here. But what do you think? Do you think that Donkey Kong Bonanza is a great game? Do you hate the game? Let me know down in the comments. And hey, if you haven't picked up the game yet, what are you doing? Go pick this game up. I feel like that this game should have been the launch title of the Switch 2. I get why they used Mario Kart World as the launch title. I mean, it's Mario Kart. It's going to sell the console. But the release of Donkey Kong Bonanza really does feel like the official launch of Switch 2. It feels like that we're finally fully in this generation because we have our multiplayer game with Mario Kart World that came out, but we also have our single player campaign with Donkey Kong Bonanza. But that's all I have for this video. Again, if you enjoy it, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, helps me out a ton. But with that being said, I'm the biggest nub on YouTube, Cristiano, signing off, and as always, goodbye, Nub Nation.